Good. We live.
Am I too tall?
No, there's a lot of headspace. So welcome to, I don't know, I guess just a random podcast. I don't know if we're like numbering them or they're just general topics.
We'll number them in post.
Yeah. This
This is podcast number.
Hey, come here now. This is podcast number, whatever the fuck number is.
It'd be like 72.
Yeah.
Should I do the funhouse thing? I'm Curtis and I'm your host, and I'm joined by Simran and Brett.
Hey.
You guys, they're also just super experts on whatever we're talking about. Super experts.
I've never seen one of their podcasts. I don't know how it starts. Or
I'm just saying, like, every podcast they have like a guy that's like, I'm your host, and then they tell who's there. Because I realize on all
Are they serious though, or are they joking?
No, it's kind of like for the podcast listeners, so they know who's talking. Okay. Otherwise, it's just this random voice. Like, I don't know who that is. So
I'm
yeah.
Simran. And you should say I'm Brad.
I'm Brad.
I'm Curtis. Your host now.
Yeah, literally like, and you're the host.
So today it's kind of late, but I mean, obviously it's still a big topic. Lots of like discussion going on about it on the internet, especially because it's about the internet. We're going to talk about net neutrality.
Neutrality.
Yeah, and then just how it's been passed now that it's going to be repealed in the U.S., but we're not sure if it probably will go through. There's a good chance that it'll go through, but there's a lot of like lobbying or like a lot of like activists and a lot of people like trying to fight against it and stuff like that.
One of the senators for California was like, I'm going to make sure that doesn't, like, he's going to do everything in his power to...
But I mean...
So we should first
we
should we'll give like a quick rundown of like what net neutrality is. But basically like what's going on, and this is the way I see it, again, this is just our opinions, but is that it's kind of like the internet and television are very different, but it works in a, like, when I'm trying to explain it to talk about television, in that, so the ISPs are old, that's like Comcast and like Verizon or whatever, like they're kind of like, it's, imagine the like people that own television, they're kind of losing their money now because people are going to the internet. Like, I don't have cable. Like, do you guys have cable?
No.
I do for Indian channels, but
you personally don't use cable, right? Like, people still use TV and stuff like that, but TV's on the downswing versus the internet's on the upswing, and ISPs are kind of, this is their play at trying to get their money back, I guess. Mm-hmm. Whereas, like, you know, on TV, there's always like packages of like, you can get, you know, the sports package or the movie channel package or whatever. So basically, net neutrality, the result of it could be something that looks like that. But net neutrality basically just means that when you pay for your internet and you pay your ISP, you get everything, you get the full internet, I mean, besides the dark web and all that stuff, but you get the full internet and all of the content is equally able to be accessed. So the ISPs can't throttle or manipulate what is more easily accessed or not.
I'll give a perfect example. So the internet that we have now is a giant highway, and everyone is allowed to go the same speed, and everyone has access to the highway. Now, what these providers want to do is make it so that there's fast lanes and slow lanes. And if you're using, like, Netflix, for example, Netflix as a company would pay these ISPs, these internet service providers, more money so that their services would be on the fast lane. So if I was to use Hulu, for example, and Hulu wasn't willing to pay Comcast or whatever, then I'd be in a slow lane or a lower tiered lane. Whereas Netflix would get more of the bandwidth, so like people would get better content, higher quality content and stuff like that.
So same thing. It's kind of like, so like I said, thinking about television is kind of similar, right? There's people that have basic cable, that's you only have like the whatever, how many, 12 channels, 20 channels or whatever. And then if you have more money that you can afford to, then this from a consumer perspective. If you have more money and you want to spend more, then you can have a larger TV package that includes more channels. Yeah. But basic cable doesn't come with all those channels, right? Right now, the internet is you have access to all the channels. You have access to everything. But what probably is going to happen, I mean, all the ISPs, like Comcast and whatever, they vow to like protect net neutrality and whatever. But the only reason that they'd be fighting for this, to repeal net neutrality, is for something like this to happen, for them to like put in some kind of whatever, like packages and stuff like that, we're assuming. But I mean, from a like the big, I mean, the reason why, like, I think Netflix and Google and whatever, like Apple or whatever, they have come out and said publicly sort of that they're against net neutrality being repealed, obviously, but they haven't been a huge voice in it, just because they're so big that it doesn't really matter at this point for them.
Well,
right?
I mean,
so if Netflix ups their price by a couple bucks, I mean, like, chances are their revenue is not going to change by a large amount. Like, people aren't going to be like, oh, it's $2 more. They're going to, like, everybody's going to bitch and complain. But I mean, at the end of the day, you're going to buy your Netflix, right? And everybody uses Google. Like, they're largely unaffected. And I mean, this is again another one of the trends that goes along with repealing net neutrality and having these things happen, is that it favors those that have the money and the resources, and it favors big, like, corporations and whatever that have they make enough money to be able to pay the ISPs or work out some sort of deal so that their content can get.
So, but that's the thing. So it still sucks for them. Like the only people that benefit from this are the ISPs, like Facebook,
right,
Google, Netflix. Nobody, like, they all are for net neutrality because that benefits them. When you
they would be in control then.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And so when you have that fast lane, and, like, you have to pay someone X amount of millions of dollars or whatever, so that they allow their user base to use your service unaffected, but you have to pay, like, I don't know, who knows, like, obviously up in the millions of dollars. It sucks. And so everyone is vocal. Facebook, Google, all the big companies are. But I mean, like...
Well, I mean, I'm just saying that the most vocal would be the smaller
companies,
more than... Just like, because the bigger companies
they got billions in the bank.
And it's the thing is, like... Like, I was going to talk about this later, but what this tempts, like, is that those big players, I guess, like, Google is what I'm thinking about, is, like, Google might start to get involved in, like, service providing now because they're big enough to. Google can fucking do it if they wanted to. If Google wanted to be a service provider, they could do it. They tried, right? Like fiber optic or whatever. And that's also kind of scary. I don't know if you guys want to talk about that now, but it's scary because they also, like, run a lot of the internet, clearly. Right, so if they're also in the service providing business, it's just scary, again, like the Disney Fox thing, when one player controls all the things, right?
No, yes, killing it.
I mean, like, directly, since this is happening in the U.S., it doesn't directly affect us, but I mean, like, as a consumer, like, again, if Netflix is charged by the ISPs to make their stuff run faster, and Netflix is forced to pay an extra whatever to Comcast, then they could, if they wanted to, just charge Americans, but the chances are they're probably going to diffuse the increased pricing over. And, like, why not, right? Like, if Netflix can charge it, like, an extra... I'm sure if you charge an extra buck, I'm sure most people are going to pay that extra buck for Netflix, right? If they can diffuse it over a larger audience. So it's the same thing with any other... what else? Like you're saying, Hulu and, like, whatever else that you pay for.
That. But I was gonna say is on the subject of Canada, like, our Prime Minister, which is the leader of our country, for you Americans that don't know what a Prime Minister is for net neutrality, but it's already, like, Bell, which is like our Comcast or our Verizon, Bell, Rogers, and them have already said how they want to repeal net neutrality here in Canada, and how they also want to do a similar thing. So,
well, I mean, there's always plays at it. I mean, they will publicly. I feel like they say that, like, I can't remember where I read it, but they say that, like, oh yeah, we're totally okay with, like, what the laws are regarding net neutrality in Canada. Like, right now is on the record is sort of like, oh, we're for net neutrality. But I mean, over the next few years or whatever, like, the Telecom Act is up for review. So there obviously is going to be a lot of lobbying towards repealing net neutrality.
They're already saying they're not for net neutrality, is what I'm saying.
I thought I read somewhere that they said that they're okay with the laws or whatever, because, like, obviously because of this issue.
Okay, I was reading just a couple of days ago how Bell and, like, a bunch of other companies.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure like publicly what they say, it's the same thing that Comcast, right? Like, Comcast is obviously going to be like, oh, we love, like, being fair, we're never going to overcharge the customer, blah blah blah. They're going to say all those things that sound very for net neutrality in the way that benefits the consumer, because they're like, we're consumer based.
Yeah.
Comcast loves the consumer. But that said, obviously internally, when they actually do their shit, they're going to roll out whatever packages and whatever that benefits them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, their company. Yeah.
Same thing with Rogers and Bell. I'm sure it's the same thing. Is they're going to say these things, right? Because it's never good to be on the wrong side of the consumer. But I mean, in the end, they probably are. If net neutrality was repealed, they'd probably fucking love it, right?
Yeah. Like, go buck wild with it.
Yeah.
I just think it's shitty for the content creator too. So, like, YouTube as a platform. Imagine you're in, like, a lot of YouTubers are in the States. They're in like California and stuff. So this goes through, and then YouTube has to start charging people to put more videos onto their platform because they have to pay for the bandwidth and stuff like that. So if you're trying to start something new, like we're trying to start something new, we're lucky because we're in Canada. We won't have to do that. But if you're in this, but like but if you're in the States and you're trying to start something new, and YouTube says, well, we're going to charge you to put your videos up, and then you're not making money off of those videos until however long, like it's just rough to know that we might lose out on a lot of good content because people just can't pay to put their stuff on there because of what maybe YouTube won't do that, or
people won't be able to pay enough to see our stuff. We'll be on like an indie channel, a little small channel that you have to pay in for an extra package to see it. I mean, it works either way.
Like even the content that's on there now, like at least I was just watching Funhouse too. It's like the idea of that not being on there is like that's shitty. That's like 10-15 minutes of my day every single day watching a new video.
If YouTube,
if
YouTube charged for videos, I would not use YouTube.
Yeah, so like I wouldn't use it either probably. So
that would kill off like Funhouse and all those guys because the majority of their.
That's why I think that the thing you brought up of Google setting up their own thing, like that seems really realistic to me. Just because they have their hands in so many things that are based around the internet. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm just saying that like it just seems way more likely now that this is.
But that's scary too. So now imagine Google comes out with the fiber or whatever. They retry it, right? They go through all the states and whatever, and then they're like, "Yeah, YouTube is included in our package that we have for you." So now it's just like it's not even like like YouTube's available for everyone. It's like they're like it's included in all, even the base package that we offer. YouTube is included, so everyone has to switch over to Google's internet or whatever. Like it just. Then it all comes back to one company having everyone by the balls or whatever. It's just fucked up.
I mean, the other thing that this would impact with like Canadian business and stuff like that is that, I mean, it goes back to the like if you're a Canadian company, it'd be harder for us to compete with US companies too with this thing because like just in general, like Canadian companies are smaller. So paying that extra whatever to ISPs to put their content up in the US would be more difficult obviously too. So I mean, it hurts Canadian business just in general as well. But I mean, I guess the CRTC, I can't remember when they did it, but they did rule that the internet is a basic service for everybody. But I mean, the way that looks, if you do repeal net neutrality, can look like TV too, right? Is that like basic cable? You can have basic internet, but that's not like the full internet the way it has been. But I mean, the way, like my intuition, hopefully, and I mean, we already see it, there's a lot of fighting back, and a lot of people, most people don't agree with this. It's kind of one of those, like Ajit Pai, the guy that passed this in the commission of the FCC, like he was a previous employee of Verizon, and that's why people think that the FCC was like hijacked by like corporate, right? So I mean, already there's a lot of like pushback from this.
Yeah. That's the worst thing. It's like it was a lost cause from day one because three of the guys. So the two girls that said no, we want like net neutrality should be like it should stay, and the internet should be free for all. They were voicing their opinions about how net neutrality should stay in place, and the three guys, including Ajit Pai, which I don't even know why he's allowed to he's like the head of the FCC. Why is it him? I feel like
it's just the way the fucking rich people.
Yeah, it's crazy because like they've already voiced their opinions and how they're like, no, we should take down net neutrality, and then there's like a vote as if like over the course of the last like 3 years, like on the day of, they're like, no, you know what? I just completely just fuck it. I don't know. It just it was so skewed and just broken from the start, and like that's
even the votes were just bought out. Votes,
that's what I mean. It's like there's only 5 people, and it was a 3-2 victory, and the 3 people that the 3 guys that voted for, like no matter how many, like there were millions of emails sent. There was so much, like 77% of the of people voted.
But there was also there was a story where like Ajit Pai apparently had like their side of it. They had their own bunch of comments like, oh yeah, you should repeal it and stuff like that, but all those comments were like from fake accounts
and
people that are
dead.
That
was the big controversy.
And
but they still use that as their evidence to push it forward, and it's like really like.
And so that, but even with that, like 77% or something was like for net neutrality, and like in any democracy or whatever, it's the majority. You would think. If I'm like over 3/4 of the people like no, keep net neutrality in, you're like, and then it goes down to 3 guys that are obviously like bought out. Like it breaks my heart because the richer you are, the fucking just like three guys get to control.
It's just really sad. It's like we have no. Do we really have power? Kind of
yeah,
thing?
like the power, like the people have power. It's like no, they really don't because it's like three guys got to who are obviously already had their minds set out to vote no to repeal net neutrality. They voted for like all of America, and more than 3/4 of America said please don't. Yeah. They still did it anyways, and that's fucking heartbreaking. And it scares me to think that like what's gonna happen in Canada, especially if, because here we don't have fucking 17 different ISPs, we have like three. Right? So like in Canada, it's a lot worse because we have the big three. We have TELUS, Bell Media, and Rogers Entertainment. And it's scary because if even two of those guys are like, yeah, fuck net neutrality, it's like it's almost a given.
Yeah.
I mean, part of like, I mean, this is really like morbid, like depressing talk, but I mean, at the same time, like seeing all the people, like I've seen a bunch of videos already on YouTube talking about this stuff, and I mean, and this stuff won't pass overnight. Like, there's a bunch of legal things that they have to get through. Like, the whole process is going to take a while. And I mean, already seeing all the pushback on the internet is encouraging to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like the fact that we can put this out still, and we have the ability to even say something, and somebody might be listening, is like it's encouraging, at least for now, right? Until all that stuff goes through, because obviously it's going to take time, right? And I mean, the other thing that I was going to say is that the internet's been this way for so long. And like, I mean, not that there was any way to control it from the get, right? Because like, it's no way that you would know YouTube in its infancy where it was going to go in the first place to control it.
Yeah.
But the fact that the internet's been like this for so long, I just have like this hope that like people will realize as soon as ISPs start doing these things with packages, like, oh, you get basic internet, but then you have to pay now, like all of a sudden for YouTube, when before you didn't have to, or whatever else, but YouTube, Netflix, or whatever, that people will start being like, hey, what the fuck? Right? And actually like start like being more aware about these things and being more like active, and like maybe you don't have to like go super overboard, but at least be aware of it, and like maybe do that. Like they have all these websites and stuff that are like just call in and just say these things, or write an email and just do this or whatever, something at least. And just the fact that everybody's aware about it is like really important, right? So I mean that to me is kind of encouraging. I don't know.
No, I 100% agree. Like that's the most hopeful situation. Like not to be a negative Nancy, but it's like that's best case scenario. Like people are like, oh, we're getting bent over the table. We should really do something about it.
But it's because like, you know what I mean? Like the TV, it's like since I was born, the way I saw it was like, yeah, there was just basic cable, and there's just like I don't have that channel. That was just part of it from the get for me at least. Yeah. But the internet is like, I knew it when it was just golden age, literally anything. Like there's fucking terrible things on the internet. Yeah. Like fucking whatever, like World Star weird shit and like whatever. But also there's just it's just literally everything. There's a lot of great things too. It's just life. There's just so much everything on the internet. Whereas now, like if this happens, all the things that we're predicting to happen, it's reducing it back down. Whereas like I knew what it was like before. But
the thing is like, when they bring out these packages, there's no way in hell that they're gonna make it so like on the surface you can see any difference. Like they're gonna give you like a $15 plan, which gives you access to like
the main thing.
Like Google and whatever, and you're gonna be like, okay, well, $15 for internet, sick, whatever, right? But then if you want like Netflix and YouTube and that stuff, it's gonna be like like the $50 plan.
It'll be tiered, right?
Yeah, be tiered, and so it's like.
Which is weird because then you also have to have a Netflix thing on top of that, so maybe they'd have to work out something with Netflix where it's you pay it all at once.
It's probably just going to be you pay extra to have Netflix on your internet, and then you also pay Netflix to have a subscription to them.
Like Xbox Live, you have to pay for the game and Xbox Live
and your internet,
DLC
and your internet
and my internet.
And like me being the pessimist that I am, like the only way that I think that they'll not want to do this is like people actually vote with their money and they just don't get any of these packages. They're like, fuck these guys, but everybody's gonna get these packages.
Yeah.
As soon as they like somebody who's had like me and myself, like if it happens here, I'm gonna pay for the Netflix and I'm gonna pay for all of it. So at the end of the day, when they're still getting their money after doing all this, they're not gonna change anything about it. Like even if you still should send emails and stuff like that might help, but the pessimist in me is like, they're just not gonna care because then they didn't.
Well,
care
also
this
the
time
fact
when
that there were two Democrats in the vote of like in the FCC that voted against it, and I mean there's just so many people. Like the way that this works and is that there's so much public like dislike because of this that, and the reason why they're trying to get why they still went through with the vote and all that stuff, like, oh no, that's what they're doing. They're trying to put it through the Senate or something like that, where there's like a bigger vote with all the like seats, right? Or Congress or whatever, and then although it's like not likely that they'll get it because it's still like a little bit like there's still, it's like a whatever 60% Republican or whatever, like there's more in favor of Republicans. It's good to get them on the record so when election time comes around, they can be like, well, this guy was against net neutrality. So in the next vote, when this issue comes up again, we can bring it up and then people will be like, oh, okay, well, like, fuck that guy because
use it as a platform to be like,
And I mean, like, there's a good chance too that like maybe the next vote, like Trump won't get reelected or whatever. Like these players can change, right? I mean, and this is just proof of where they stand and where the lines fall.
And honestly, that's what I think it should have been. It should have gone to like the Senate or Congress or whatever, just because it's like, then you can like, you can't call into the FCC and be like, come on, like, well, you can, obviously, there's a number, but like, it's not really like, it doesn't affect Ajit Pai or whatever, like he's still gonna be the head, but like the senators, like your senator or whatever, like the people vote him in. He's not gonna try fucking his shit up like his whole next 4 years.
Like it's a political play. He has to be smart about
it. And if 100 like like fucking 500,000 of his people are like, don't do it or we won't vote for you, he won't fucking do it because he wants to get reelected. So it's like that thing about like like that is where like the people have a say kind of thing. But like when it was just fucking 3-2 and like all the people that are in there are just like set regardless, they're like Ajit Pai's not going anywhere. Like everyone in the world he can be the fucking biggest villain right now. It doesn't matter. He's in there. And it breaks my heart that like he was allowed to, like, I feel like that's a conflict of interest because
always, right?
It's like it's such a fucking big thing. Like Trump put him in there. He was an executive at Verizon. It's
always like like the financial whatever for like the president is always like someone that ran like a really big bank. It's like I get it. I'm sure he has like obviously he has a lot of experience because he ran a big bank, but also like he's obviously going to be in favor of like big banks. Like obviously, right? Like, but I mean that happens all the time. You watch House of Cards, So I guess you don't watch House of Cards. Simran watches House of Cards.
Pretty sure Kevin Spacey doesn't watch House of Cards anymore either. Too soon? Too real? All right.
But yeah, no, I apologize how little we know about like American politics, but I mean, we're in Canada, so there's
our politics are better.
That's
what I was trying to say.
Our politics are a lot more simpler. You just a lot more simple. You just give all the power to the prime minister, and he just does whatever he wants.
No, that's a whole nother talk.
Nah, I know.
Like first past post and all that stuff. I don't know. Our prime minister kind of sucks too, but.
Are you kidding? Have you seen his hair?
He's really hot. He's a really attractive
guy. He's a stud.
Yeah.
He's a stud.
I even smoked weed, I think, one time. He said.
Well, he actually did get weed past the post first.
Past the post.
First past the blunt. No, but he actually did legalize. It's coming in January. It's
coming next year, which is in a couple days.
Yeah,
so.
And we're gonna have weed sold in our liquor stores. It's gonna be real interesting.
Liquor sold in our weed stores.
That's exactly.
There you go.
But yeah, I mean, the one thing that I wanted to go over too is just that what we'd be losing too with all of this is like, I don't know, just the internet. Like I said, since there's just so much on it, there's just everything that it kind of like limits or potentially eliminates the ability for just like organic like community building, kind of like. So like when any group wants to like, there's so many things. Like one, okay, there's the kid who's a loser or whatever at school, has no friends. He can find his own friends and community on the internet because it's so open and whatever. There's just so many nooks and crannies. There's just so like there's no like one popular that everybody knows on the internet. There's just so many like, what do you call it, like micro, you can be like kind of famous, like Instagram famous is like, I can be like, oh, look at this girl and she has like however many followers, but you've never heard of her and whatever, but she's famous in her own way. And just like Funhouse is like a little cult thing too. Like there's Reddits on certain things. It's just like, but without like having net neutrality, I mean, a lot of those things are. It's kind of like what we're seeing a little bit like with YouTube demonetization is that, although that's different because that's an algorithm that's saying like, oh, like when people swear, whatever, or when there's guns, you can't. But instead of this being a robot, this is like the ISPs themselves, which have vested interest, one, and two, other people, like other organizations, big players, the government or whatever, whoever's paying them, or whoever has like interactions with them in whatever ways, it's them deciding what content you get to see or not. Right, so it's kind of like if you only have one news channel, I guess. Not to say that news is super different depending on what channel, but we'll pretend that news is super different depending on what channel you get it from. Right, if you only have one channel of news, you only get that one perspective now, and when that's feeding into you, you only have one perspective on certain things, and you have no other way. You have no other way to think now because you just have that. Right, and even if you did think differently, there's no way to connect now because you didn't pay for the package to be on Reddit or whatever. Right.
We all know fake news is going to be number one on the basic tier package.
What if we lose memes? We're gonna lose memes.
Well, I mean, there's gonna be a drop in memes for sure.
We're dropping everything. We're gonna lose memes, guys.
No, $5 a month.
Call your Congress senator person. Tell them you're
save
gonna lose
memes.
all the memes.
Hashtag save memes.
Yeah. I really just thought about this right now, but like, the things that just pop up and just bring you such joy, like Big Shack, right? Like, we willed that into existence. We willed that into existence.
We can't do that anymore.
We can't do that anymore. Like, you can't give like someone like Kurt, a struggling filmmaker / entrepreneur, his
Filmmaker.
Yeah. Entrepreneur. No, but like no, to come back to that point.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the people that want to start making content, or like
that want
they
to
just
try,
can't really do it anymore, or they won't have, unless they have the capital and the money behind them, kind of to do it. They won't really have.
And it's such a scary thing because so many people were found out because of the internet, and like the internet gave them the opportunity to make these shorts that were picked up later by so and so, like District 9, the director, he made shorts on YouTube. Neil Blomkamp, made shorts on fucking YouTube, and like all the people that are famous off Vine that are in like movies now, and it's like it's
so now the only way, like if this all goes through, like the only way is to like fit through the filter, right? It's like Disney, right? Like you have to be a Disney person to make it to Disney. You can't like step on anyone's toes, and you have to be the perfect poster person for them to like you. Same thing with ISPs now, is that they're gonna filter all that stuff. I mean, again, like we don't know for sure what they're gonna do, and they say this and that.
But always just assume the worst.
But like, I mean, but the thing is, like, why else would they be fighting for this then if they're not gonna change anything, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that you can like convince people, like all these people, the arguments don't make any sense because net neutrality is just like, let the internet be free and like you just pay for whatever speed of internet you want.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple. And then it's like, no, like Ajapai's like his responses to that, like they were also convoluted. I don't have the exact word for word, but it's like they're just like, it doesn't make any sense. Like the thing that they're fighting for, like how they're wording it.
Well, they say they just say the trigger words all the time. Is that like, let the consumer choose, and it's basically their argument is it's like a free market capitalist type of argument where it's like let the market decide, because they're saying that the government and the FCC, like those laws are restricting the market now.
Yeah, they're overreaching.
We need to. Yeah, they're overreaching. So we need to repeal the laws that are restricting the market from doing its own thing, and we should just let the market itself decide. But really, that's just like, well, if you don't have money, then you can't. That's the market. Yeah. If you don't have money, then you don't get the fucking shit, which we already got in the first place. We would have had it anyway, but now you're putting more shit on it. So now, if I don't have money now, I don't get it where I used to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, it's encouraging to see people be vocal about this, and I mean, like I actually didn't know about it till kind of late too, and I mean, but just going onto the internet and just seeing all these videos and seeing people like talk about it is really important, and I mean, it motivates me too to like be more involved in these kind of discussions, and like whoever's listening, I'm glad just so that you're aware of this. Because I mean, a lot of people don't know even about this at all, right? I mean, I know we're in Canada, but I mean, it's super important, right? Like, it's a super important issue. But yeah, I mean, I like talking about this stuff. I don't know if you guys would like to join me some more on these type of podcasts, but
no, for sure.
Yeah,
someone just made a face. I wish you guys saw that face, but
oh, you might if you're watching the video podcast.
Yeah, you gotta watch the video podcast, but yeah.
Click the link right here for the video.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for listening, guys.
Cheers.
Hope we see you in the future, and you don't have to pay for whatever, and we make it. And
this might be our last video ever because of
Kevin Spacey.
I think we talked about it.